Hello, my little lovebirds. TonyaTko here, and I'm doing something I don't normally do. Right now, I'm about to talk about a viral video. The name of the video is Facebook Parenting for the Troubled Teen, and I'd like to add the word fail at the end. All right, I'm coming out talking about this video because a lot of my adult friends began posting this video on Facebook yesterday, and I had a chance to look at the video, and most of the people who came out and were posting it were throwing up the fists and their high fives, and they're giving out kudos to the father, etc. And I started clicking around, and I saw a lot of video responses from younger people and teenagers. Most of them were in support of it. Some of them were against it. And the few people who did come out and speak out against the video, they were told to shut up. They were heavily criticized. You don't know what you're talking about. Wait till you become a parent. I'm not interested in what you have to say. I don't care what you have to say, etc., etc. And I didn't see any responses from an adult point of view that that wasn't making a mockery of the video, and really tried to approach it from a systematic and I don't want to say neutral because I do have an opinion about this. And you know, I'm your love guru, TonyaTko. So I'm always going to try to approach things from the standpoint of love. So here, I wanted to talk about the video, and I'll give you guys a quick synopsis of the video. Basically, it's a single shot. Camera on chair, father comes out, sits down in a chair, and he begins to read a paper of a note that his daughter posted on her Facebook wall. I'll give you the key points of the video, of her note. First, she starts off saying, "I'm not your slave. We have a cleaning lady named Linda. You're sitting on your butt. Get your own stuff. I'm tired of picking up after you." She's like, "You want me to get a job? Why don't you pay me for the stuff that I'm doing?" And then she goes on talking about how she has to do dishes and the countertops and the floor and the laundry and make the bed and work at his clinic. And then this is my favorite one. This is my favorite part. I'm sorry. This is my favorite part because I remember when I was younger, me and my sister used to say things like this. She says, "When you're too old to wipe your ass," she said, "Don't come looking for me," because she's not gonna wipe his butt, etc., etc. when he gets too old to do it himself. And the reason why I chuckle about that is because you know, I'm an adult now, but I remember I used to vent and say stuff like that about my father. And not that my father, you know, is over 60, etc., and I'm grown. You know, I look back on those types of sentiments, and I look back on, you know, my teenage years. And for those of you who know, you know, my mother passed away when I was a teenager. And that's another thing that I want to point out about this video, because the name of his video was Facebook Parenting for the Troubled Teen. So apparently this teen is troubled, and his parenting is happening on Facebook. You know, I'm the type of person, I like to listen. And I like to hear what people are saying, and I like to observe, and I like to pay attention to the word usage, and I like to, unfortunately, because of my memory and the way that I connect things, I can see holes in people's stories, and there's a few holes in his story and his approach that I'd like to point out, and I hope that somebody can get this back to him, because there's a challenge that I have for him as well. So, you know, my mother passed away when I was a teenager, and so I never really got a chance to come into an adult relationship with my mother. And we know that when when we're teenagers, first of all, when we're children, we believe that we belong to our parents, and then as we start to get older, we don't have our own identity. This is why teenage years are really, really difficult. We don't have our own identity, and we identify ourselves as not only coming into ourselves as a person and a young adult, but we also identify ourselves as this person's child. And there's an area of discomfort and growing pains that exists right there in the middle, right around the age that she's at, you know, where you you're still being governed by someone else. You don't have the tools, and you know, teenagers think and their minds work in a way that's very different than adults. You know, people, they say youth is wasted on the young, and there are real scientific there's scientific studies out there done on the teenage mind and how the teenage mind works and how it's not a rational mind. So I wanted to go on with this because now that I'm an adult, of course I'd wipe my papa's butt. Of course, because I love my father, and there's some things that I've come to know as an adult that I just didn't understand when I was a teenager. And you know, all of these are phases. And the reason why I laugh is because I can remember saying something like that. And this is a sign of the times. In the digital age that we're in right now, you know, kids, Facebook is an extension of the modes of communication that we used to have before. Whereas I would have called up a friend and said that on the phone, you know, now people are posting this stuff on their Facebook pages. But I just wanted to come out and talk about some of the holes in the video, in this story, in his approach, etc. And I think there's a lot wrong going on here. Number one, the father comes out smoking. And I visited his Facebook page, and he talked about this addiction that he just can't knock, how his wife wants him to knock the addiction, and he can't. So for those of you who don't know, right, the average age that people start smoking is between the age of 12 and 17. So the father went on to say that when he was Hannah's age, he had already left the house. The father's name is Tommy Jordan. So Mr. Jordan says when he was Hannah's age, he had already left the house, and oh, let me read off some of the things that he says. He's moved out of the house. He was living on his own. He was going to college while he was in high school. I'm sorry, okay. He had 2 jobs. He was a volunteer fireman, and he was also in school. You know, according to my father, he didn't have pants till he was a teenager. And he didn't own a pair of shoes until whatever such and such an age, right? He had to walk 10 miles and with no shoes and no pants and all sorts of things, right? Now this here, okay. So he was in college before he finished high school. He was actually taking college. Okay, you know, maybe. But he was also a volunteer fireman and all of these other things. And, you know, that's all fine and dandy. There were some other things that he said, like how Hannah needs to get a job, etc., etc. And I was on his Facebook page, and he was saying that I don't even know how to repeat this, but he was saying that and you know, I'll put the link to his Facebook page down below so that you can have a look as well before he closes the page off to other people. But basically on his page he was saying that thanks to Obama, it's now against the law for children to work with animals that may harm them. Forgive me, maybe because I'm a city person. He was saying that working with livestock and animals under the age of 18, or animals which can harm them under the age of 18, is now illegal. And he's like, thanks, Obama. And he's also complaining, saying that now it's against the law for children to work in an establishment where alcohol is being served under the age of 18. And he has an opposition to this as well. And you know what? I'm going to talk towards the latter part of this video about some jobs that may be appropriate for a teenager, because I'm sorry. Working with animals which may harm them is a problem. No. You know what? Let me rewind. All right. Number one, mister, I'm sorry. You should not want your daughter, your 15-year-old teenage daughter, working in an establishment where alcohol is served. If you know what I know, you say you're an internet person, that means you can look around and you can see what's going on out here. Trust me. Trust you me. You don't want your daughter walking around drunk men. Okay, those of you who get my drift, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You don't want your young, fresh daughter working around men who are under the influence of alcohol anyway. Then he goes on to say that I'm telling you, this is what I got off his Facebook page. He was saying that his father, that he began working at the age of 12. Right, because he says he was supposed to start working at the age of 13. His father lied and got him to start working when he was 12. All right. Now, this is where the number one hole in the story, besides the whole I was in college before I had got all my high school credits, besides that one, you know, and also being a 15-year-old carrying people out of a burning building, you know, besides that, I'm going to mention this as the first hole in the story, and something that I find very sad. He says when he was Hannah's age, he had already moved out of the house. But then he says that when he was 12, that his father had gotten him to start working. Now, we do realize that between the age of 12, first of all, let's hold on. Number one, most likely when he was Hannah's age, he was smoking. Let's put that up on the table. Most likely he was smoking, right? Second, 3 years after his father forced him to start working or had him start working, he had either run away, was put out, or could no longer stay in his house. We don't know the circumstances of that, but I'm not exactly sure. None of us know what happened to him when he was younger, but whatever it was something that he doesn't want to repeat in his daughter's life right now. So that could be part of the reason that she's sheltered and protected from having to work at the age of 12 and do all of this hard manual labor, etc., etc. And I'm sorry, but times are changing. You know, there was a time where parents didn't feel that children needed to go to school at all. And, you know, it seems like this father, I find it funny that when the father starts talking about the daughter, he calls her a lazy ASS, or the daughter calls him a lazy ASS. So I think it's really funny that they both think the other is lazy. The father goes on to talk about how children nowadays have no usable skills. And I'm saying the world is changing. There are inventions that have been made to facilitate and to make manual labor a little bit easier, so that people, I mean, now we have the cotton gin and all of these little tractors to help do some of the things that people had to have their children out there doing and themselves. They used to have a lot of children to get lots of work done on the farm. And I find it sad that as an IT person, he doesn't have respect for the changes, the technological changes that are happening. And unfortunately, you know, I forgot to say, at the end of the video, he starts shooting up the laptop, right? He bucked 9 shots into it. And then he went on to tell the daughter that she had to pay him back for the upgrades that he did to the computer that he himself chose to destroy. And I'm like, that's just damn ignorant. I'm sorry, how are you gonna force somebody to pay for a laptop you upgraded? I mean, force them to pay for the upgrades that they never got a chance to see. You took it upon yourself to get the upgrades, then you took it upon yourself to destroy it, and then expect somebody to pay you back for it. And I hope he doesn't pursue that avenue, because it's just foolish. It's just dumb to me personally. I just wanted to point out that I don't think that this daughter has a connection of where money comes from. You know, these things, this idea that, you know, children, they don't know where the money comes. They just a money tree and shake it in the backyard for all they know. But, you know, it's up to us as parents to stop and, you know, as they begin to grow, to let them know that they can't have just any and everything, that money comes from somewhere. And you start showing them that you give your time in exchange for this amount of money, or you do this labor in exchange for this money. And he seemed to be particularly upset by the fact that his daughter said, you should pay me for doing these chores. And I think it's odd that this father has never heard of allowance. Yes, I'll pay the girl. How do you, simple and easy. How do you expect her to correlate? You know, first of all, when children are too young to work or do anything, we take care of them and we pay this and we pay for everything, their food, their everything, because they're too young to do it themselves. And as they begin to grow, and we have to start teaching them the value of a dollar, and that they, you know, you exchange your time, etc., etc. That's what allowance is called. You know, you talk to them, they do a good job. First of all, the lights are being kept on, their clothes are being bought in exchange for them doing something, getting good grades in school, doing the chores around the house, whatever. But you need to talk to your children about what it is that you expect of them and that you're giving in exchange for that. You know, so let's see. Oh, goodness. One thing that I did want to mention is just like how we know our children know us too. And do we really want to get into the game of how to out-hurt the other? Because I'm telling you, somebody's going to lose. And unfortunately, with the child being the younger one and not being able to be very rational, the child, you know, now in this situation, it seems to be working out just fine. According to Tommy Jordan, you know, his daughter is all right with it. You know, she's gotten a lot of attention by it. CBS is interviewing her. As a matter of fact, they've been offered a reality TV show by CBS, and now Good Morning America was on his lawn. You can find out all of this information by visiting his Facebook page. Remember, get there before he closes it. You know, in this situation, you know, it seems like things are working out all right for them because the daughter is getting some attention out of this. But had this not gone viral, and had he destroyed her laptop, first of all, let's talk about the message that he's sending out. The message he's sending out is that it's okay to go out and lash out in an emotional state and begin to destroy things, and that's the way that we solve our issues. Remember, we can walk the walk. I mean, we can talk the talk. We can tell our children, do as I say, not as I do. But when they look at your actions, you know, they see you smoking, you're using your own level of profanity, you're destroying things, you're shooting things up, and you're acting in a manner that is not indicative of a person who respects how do I put this? I want to put this delicately, because I'm sure everyone, you know, people love their children, right? But you don't respect the fact that this is a child coming into their own. You know, this is a child that's growing and that is going to have an opinion, and that, I mean, in her world, you're lazy sitting on your butt and asking her to do all these chores. I think that this deserves a conversation. You know, not just going out with your gun and bucking shots into the computer and pow pow and, you know, and acting the fool on the internet, and then the aftermath. Golly, I'd love to talk about that if I have enough time. You know, but this deserves a conversation. You know, do you really, you can't get into the who can out hurt one another, because as parents, we want to see our children doing well. And you know that just as we know our children know us, and they know what can get to us. And if this had not been a situation that turned viral and this girl was left isolated, you know, and frustrated without her computer, first of all, he grounded her for 3 months before. Now he's saying that this incident is going to have her grounded for 3 years. And at the end of the day, you know, the skills the skills of innovation that we learn in this worldwide web world that we live in now. Cutting off your daughter's access to the computer is different than cutting off your daughter's access to the internet. You know, cutting off her computer actually is putting her at a disadvantage of other children who do have access to digital means of staying even in line with kids of their own age. You know, I didn't want to bring this up, but I mean, look at Larry Fishburne's daughter, Montana Fishburne, who decided to get back at her father by, I mean, her father didn't want her entering, didn't want to help her audition to get into movies. So she decided to audition and get into a movie that she couldn't be turned down for, and she started doing, you know, her pornography. And, you know, we all know how that turned out. At the end of the day, yeah, she's her own person and is going to grow into her own, but she's hurting herself by hurting her parents, and no parent wants to see their child hurting. You know, so I mean, I wanted to just, this is my challenge to to Tommy Jordan. You know, spend some time with your daughter. In her letter, she wasn't ranting about all the time and attention that you're showering her with and how she's being smothered. She wasn't ranting about that. She's ranting about these chores and the way that she sees things, and she's entitled to see things that way. Talk to her about that. I wanted to challenge him to, you know, talk with his daughter. Obviously, she's troubled. One thing that stood out to me about his video was that he said, did you know, you've embarrassed me, you've embarrassed your mother, and you've embarrassed your stepmother. Now, she lives with him. According to what I gathered, you know, she has a little 8-year-old brother who knocks on her bedroom door on the weekends, etc. So she lives with the father. And we know for the state to take a child away from their mother, there has to be something very wrong with the union between that mother and that child, or something very wrong with the mother and what the mother is doing. Perhaps you could talk with Hannah, see what type of problem she's having adjusting to the fact that her mother has these issues. I'm only assuming that her mother has these issues, you know, but I mean, she's lashing out, so something's the matter. Spend some time talking to her. I mean, you like guns. I mean, I wouldn't say bring her out to the shooting range, but maybe take up some archery with the child. Shoot some bows. Shoot some bows at something. And spend some time with your daughter. You know, maybe if Larry Fishburne had spent some more time with Montana instead of out there karate chopping Neo in the Matrix and all that other stuff, maybe things would have turned out a little bit differently. So talk to her. And then, you know, some jobs, I mean, listen, children, they don't have to work with animals that may harm them. There are other jobs that they can get. They can work in the mall, in an ice cream shop. One young lady who owns a coffee shop, or was a manager at a coffee shop, offered the young lady a job. So coffee shop, you know, a shoe store, working at the movies, working at Kinko's. There's so many different places that a child can work besides a place that's serving alcohol or animals which can harm them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know, we definitely want to lead by example, but from what I gather from this, the young lady just wanted attention. You know, she was lashing out. You know, she apparently she didn't want you to read it. She thought she blocked you. You know, so she was lashing out. And personally, I don't know. I think that there's so many ways that this could have been handled. And then this is my challenge to the father. You know, he said that CPS came and visited him, Child Protective Services, and and they gave him some pointers on some things that he can do with Hannah that can help her, you know, help with the discipline, etc. He said that he learned some things from them. This is my challenge, because while I was on his Facebook page, I've read about how he wasn't exactly sure what to say to people. He said a lot of eyes were on him right now, but he didn't know what to say. So he's like, stay in school, don't use drugs. I think a great thing for him to do right now is to share with other parents the things that CPS shared with him, the things that he didn't know. You know, I mean, at this moment, he's beginning to talk about all of his businesses. He has 3 or 4 of them, a veterinarian clinic, a twisted website. He's also doing an auction website and all this other stuff that he's doing. I mean, apparently the man liked to have 3 jobs. 4 jobs or a lot of jobs, right? But this is a great time for you to talk about some of the lessons that you learned from Child Protective Services to help other parents who may be struggling, because believe me, I know teenagers are in a state unlike anything. They turn from being your sweet little darlings into, you know, turning into these monsters lashing out. And it's not only difficult for you, but it's difficult for a lot of parents out there. So share some of your techniques. I mean, I don't necessarily feel that shooting and bucking up a laptop and, you know, and embarrassing your daughter on the internet. I mean, I know you said that she embarrassed you, but I'm not sure if that's the best way. Listen, it's none of my business. Besides, you know, the family making it everybody's business by putting the video out there. But I'm only talking out as, you know, an opposing point of view, that maybe there was a different way that it could have been handled. By all means, you know, share with some parents some of the techniques. You know, instead of taking the time right now to start talking about all your other businesses and promoting and raising money and all this other stuff, you know, stay in line, or at least before you go off into the other stuff, let's concentrate on what the video was about. Parenting for the teen. So share with some other parents, you know, some things which may work. We can't have all parents out there bucking shots. You know, some of us live in the city. You can't discharge a firearm within a certain range of something or another. And I hope everybody has their permits up to date. This is TonyaTko, and I'm out of here. I just wanted to share my thoughts on this video. I'd love it if you guys shared your thoughts below. I know everybody is not going to agree with me, and that's fine. We're all entitled to our opinion. Much like you're entitled to yours, I'm entitled to mine. And I want everybody to have a happy ending. You know, and I'm happy that things are working out. He said the daughter is over it. She must not have really wanted the laptop that much, or she just really needed the attention that bad. So TonyaTko, and I'm out. Make sure you subscribe to my videos below. Come over to my website, TonyaTko.com, my Facebook page, Facebook.com/TonyaTko show. And follow me on Twitter, Twitter.com/TonyaTko. And that's Tonya what? That's right, with an O. And I'm out. Peace.